Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in for tonight's paranormal pit stop, which just so happens to land us on the shores of a popular reservoir fed by the Chattahoochee and Chestatee Rivers. Tucked away between Gainesville and Buford in northern Georgia, that spans 59 square miles, boasts 692 miles of shoreline, holds the title of being the largest lake in the whole of the state, as well as one of the largest in the southeast, and that purportedly harbors its fair share of restless spirits, deriving its name from a poet and Confederate vet, and seemingly always surrounded in tales of the supernatural. Are you prepared to brave the ghosts of Lake Lanier? Historically, for thousands of years, a range of tribes would utilize land now holding the reservoir, until their disappearance, possibly via migration circa 1500 CE, after which members of the Iroquoian-speaking Cherokee Nation would settle in from the north. Following 1829 and the discovery of gold in the region, a number of European families would begin settling on modern lake grounds, and as a community it would pressure the government to remove Cherokee forces and any additional native presence. From 1836 to 1839, all Cherokee peoples were forced to relocate during the Trail of Tears campaign, during which time around 16,000 were displaced and sent off in the direction of designated reservations. And sadly, out of this number, only around 12,000 would ever reach their destinations. Through the remainder of the 1800s, a number of small towns and communities would sprout up, right where future Lake Lanier would be, the most recognizable of which was Oscarville in 1870. Oscarville's inhabitants would earn national fame after their local farmers managed to fight off a boll weevil infestation that plagued Georgia through the 20th century, and the community would even go on to survive the Great Depression. In April of 1947, the Industrial Bureau would meet with the Chamber of Commerce, and together the departments would launch plans for Buford Dam, which would, in turn, strengthen commerce and provide resources to Atlanta. Construction of the dam was started in 1950 and would last until 1956, after which, as waters began to rise, local inhabitants clinging to their properties could do little more than watch as their beloved former homes, places of business, schools, churches, and more were swallowed up by the new reservoir. When all was said and done, more than 56,000 acres of farmland and 15 businesses had been destroyed, with flooding forcing the relocation of no less than 20 cemeteries, along with the reinterment of all recoverable remains. In 1962, development of the Lake Lanier Islands Resort Complex was started, with the site eventually offering boat docks, campgrounds, horse stables, beaches, a golf course, the Pine Isle Hotel, and a water park, which was opened later in 1987. In 2005, the whole of the resort property was purchased by one Virgil Williams, who immediately set to work on a series of renovations and restorations of neglected structures. Lake Lanier remains open into the present and provides both water and power to the city of Atlanta. While the reservoir is a popular stop for recreational activities, officials recommend checking water quality before planning any outings, as in 2019 it was rated as some of the state's most polluted water. In 1912, following the brutal assault and murder of a local 18-year-old girl, racial tensions skyrocketed. Over time, a handful of suspects were put to death based on their heritage, and Oscarville, whose populace was predominantly African American, was left all but abandoned. Additionally, the lake has always been recognized as a hotspot for accidents, drownings, and worse, and since its formation, it's claimed an estimated 675 lives. Haunted activity near Lake Lanier is a suspected result of the site's tumultuous past, with many claiming happenings are directly related to the vengeful spirits of both former residents who lost everything in the flooding, alongside those related to the various native tribes forced to relocate. Chillingly, the lake rests at 152 feet in its deepest portions and boasts multiple underwater forests. Natural growth coupled with structures make dredging the body of water nearly impossible, and we can only speculate on how many bodies remain in its depths. Both officials, visitors, and resort staff have reported a host of ghostly happenings, including footsteps heard from empty areas, disembodied voices, orbs and strange mists in photography, and a spectral raft sighted floating the waters late at night, manned by a shadowy figure carrying a lantern and propelling himself with a long pole. Several who have almost drowned at Lanier but managed to survive have reported the sensation of icy hands dragging them into its depths, and those who've survived nearby car wrecks have described their cars inexplicably veering against the direction their steering wheels are turned, or the sense that some invisible force is guiding the vehicle. Another popular tale centers around two women, Delia Mae Parker Young and Susie Roberts, who in 1958 were driving across the Lanier Bridge when, for reasons unknown, they lost control of their car and crashed into the lake, resulting in their deaths by drowning. A body believed to be Young's was discovered missing her hands and multiple toes, though her identity wasn't officially confirmed until 1990 when Roberts' body was also recovered. Ever since this tragedy, a number of reports detail encounters with a spectral woman missing both of her hands, who wanders the crossing after dark. Lastly, at least one construction worker, a man by the name of Johnny Callahan, was killed working on the dam. Callahan was hit by falling rocks and later died of head trauma, leaving behind a wife and 6 children. His full-bodied entity has been spied wandering the shoreline, a bloody gash across his cranium, and those who've mistaken him for living and who've tried to reach him to help are usually met in disappointment, as upon their approach, he always fades away. Thanks for joining us on this paranormal pit stop. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.